Wednesday, March 7th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we review a comic book for a change with Why Are You Doing This by Jason.
Let's do this. So I ordered this laptop, and I ordered it in the middle of February, and it finally shipped.
Granted, the fact that it took that long to even ship, I probably would have canceled my order at that point.
They still haven't taken any of my money, so I'm not complaining yet. I might get a free laptop because they're so incompetent.
Yeah, because, well, when I went to Katsucon, they didn't bill me for the hotel until just now.
Oh, wow, really? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Usually when I charge something on my credit card, I see it in like a couple days. This, I charged it on my credit card, it shipped, and it's still not on my credit card at all. So anyway, it came by UPS, and they gave me no choice in choosing my method of shipping. They basically said, we're shipping it to you. I mean, I could have paid for super fast shipping or slow shipping, but I didn't have any other choices. I couldn't choose U.S. Postal Service. I couldn't choose FedEx. It was pretty much just UPS, period. They didn't even let me know it was UPS. All I knew is that it was being shipped. I didn't know it was UPS until it, arrived. And you know what? It hasn't arrived because they marked it to be only allowed to be delivered if it is signed in person.
Now, that alone I wouldn't really complain about because it is a very expensive piece of equipment in a very small box. And while we live in an area where there's almost no crime, I can think of a lot of places I have lived where I would not want anything I had ordered sitting out in public.
That is true. Even though, we have never had anything stolen off the porch, and we get packages very often with very expensive goods in them, and they just sit outside until we get home. They've never been stolen, but I still worry just a little bit that it's not going to be there when I get home. So a laptop that cost almost $2,000, of course, I would worry about leaving it on the porch. However, because of the way UPS delivers packages, and because I actually go to work and make enough money to buy things, there is no way I can get this package without skipping out on work.
Yeah, think of this. They'll only deliver between whenever they start in the morning, which is long after either of us would have gone to work, and like 6:30 or 7, which is pretty much right as we're getting home.
So unless there's a guarantee that they will show up at 7, and I rush home as fast as I possibly can, like to get one earlier train, there's no guarantee that anyone will be in the house to sign the package. Not every house in the United States has a family with someone staying at home or a butler or losers who don't have jobs. People go to work. Houses are usually empty on any weekday for most of the day.
Well, even worse is when you call them to try and just drive to the UPS store and pick it up.
Yeah, okay, so I can go to the UPS store to pick it up between Monday and Friday, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I have to do it. I'm just going to have to leave work early tomorrow and then drive like 20 minutes to Poughkeepsie to this UPS place, because it's not just any UPS store. They don't just leave it at the nearest UPS store, because this is a pretty close UPS store. It's like 10 minutes away. No, it has to be at UPS shipping center. They can't bring it to a nearby UPS store or leave it at your local post office, which is 5 minutes away. No, they have to freaking, and there's no way I can't tell them I don't care about his signature, leave it on my porch anyway. I can't tell them that. They will not accept that. There's no way they will leave it on the porch.
See, if I were you, but maybe it's just because when my ire is drawn, I am much more likely to follow through with it. I probably would have canceled my order and told the laptop company exactly why I canceled my order, because they didn't give me an option in shipping, and the company they chose to ship it could not deliver it to me without me leaving work.
Yeah, well, that's the reason I chose to go to the UPS place as opposed to just coming home early and scheduling a delivery after I got home, is because, number one, at least this way I'm guaranteed to, not have the delivery guy show up 5 minutes before I get home. And B, I can raise a stink when I go there. Be like, this is BS. Don't you realize people have fucking jobs? What the fuck is wrong with you? They should deliver, seriously, UPS should deliver packages to houses between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. UPS guy doesn't have to work all day. Let the UPS guy stay home and do nothing all day, and then he works 5 to 10, because guess what? That's the only time his job is useful.
Well, unless you're delivering to businesses.
Yeah, okay, so the business delivery guys do it during the day, and the home delivery guys do it night.
Now, why do that? It costs a lot more money when you could just do what they do now, because people like us are still the minority, and they're not going to make any more money by catering to you and me and the 5 other people who care about this. Most people are going to use UPS anyway. They don't care.
Well, I can tell you this. Even though FedEx often costs more money, FedEx has never actually given me a problem, because even when FedEx has a thing that says signature required, the guy has always left it on the porch for me, and it's never been stolen, and they always get stuff to me a lot faster than UPS does. So from now on, I'm paying the extra money for FedEx if it's an option. And if it's not an option, I'm going to complain to whoever didn't give me the option.
Yeah, but I just don't see this changing anytime soon because no one cares but you.
Yeah, well, it still sucks, and there needs to be a solution for it, because it's a big problem in that, the kind of people
Well, here's
who
the
are
thing.
likely...
It's not a big problem. It's only a problem for a very small minority of people.
But the thing is, the people who are likely to buy, more likely to buy things on the internet, and thus more likely to need shipping, are people who are more likely to not be home to get those packages.
But you know what? They keep buying the stuff anyway, so there's no incentive for anyone to change their business model. The worst thing is when we had that old TV and we wanted to get rid of it. There was no way for us to get rid of that TV. And there were a bunch of people we could pay to come and pick the TV up, and not a single one of them would come outside of the hours of 9 to 5, and they wouldn't come in on weekends. So there was absolutely no way for us to legally dispose of our television without one of us taking a day off work.
How many days off work am I going to get here? It's like...
Well, I'm not going to take a day off work for that when I can take a day off work to be at the beach.
I know, seriously. It's just fucked up in that, in other countries, people get a lot more days off work, or they have like siestas or tea or lunches and things like that, where they have time off of work often that they can use to conduct the business of their personal lives. Go to a doctor's appointment or the dentist, or do some maintenance on your car. Well, these things that you have to do.
I get plenty of days off for all that. I get a month of vacation, plus my holidays, plus my long-term sick, which is totally separate.
Yeah. Most people don't get all that in this crazy country.
Yeah.
And even then, that's nothing compared to what you should be getting, which is like 3 months of vacation.
Yes, the problem is that has a lot of ramifications for our economy.
Except for the fact that you would probably do just as much work no matter how much vacation they gave you.
No, because most people wouldn't.
Those people don't deserve to work or have money or have houses.
All right, I'm not going to get in an argument with this with you because you probably haven't thought this through at all. But anyway.
UPS sucks.
Yeah. Luckily, this doesn't affect me at all because when I buy things that are more expensive than a few $100s, I usually buy them in person.
There's no way to buy this laptop in person or from any other company. There's only one way to obtain it.
Well, this problem only affects you, so I can't really say that I care very much.
There might be other products you want in the future that are only obtainable from one source.
Not really. I'm kind of a skinflint, and I probably never buy a laptop, so it won't matter.
You don't buy anything, so you really don't count.
I spend all my money on food and books and things.
Yeah, I buy food and books and other things also.
I buy a lot more food.
Whatever. Okay, so in the news... All right, my news is spoilerific if you care about Underwear Pervert comics.
Whatever, it was on all the mainstream news, so it's not a spoiler.
This is why it's my news, because all the Underwear Pervert fans were like, OMG, why is the mainstream news always spoiling our comics for us? Like, don't go to yahoo.com, it's on the front page, everybody. Don't go there, there's a spoiler.
Well, maybe because the comic industry, the underwear pervert industry, because indie comics don't do this, obviously, they use character deaths as a means of promoting their products, because it means that whenever they kill a big character, they'll get into the media.
Yeah, because, okay, so let's spoil it right now. They killed Captain America. OMG.
Probably temporarily. They admitted straight up that it's not unlikely that he won't come back.
We should just start a betting pool where if you guess the month where he's coming back, you win $100, and if you guess the exact comic and issue he comes back, you win the whole jackpot.
But see, no one would bother because there's a much easier way to win $100 by getting Dave and Joel to attempt to beat us at air hockey.
Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty stupid. It shows that superhero comics really don't have anything going for them. Especially if you read the stories the mainstream media is writing about it, they're pretty they're showing their contempt for the superhero comics that we also have. It's most people think this is pretty stupid and they don't care. It's just that there are certain superheroes who are also happen to be sort of these national icons in a way that a lot of characters are, like, you know, Snoopy or Garfield or lots of characters, Mickey Mouse and, you know,
See, other than the
Spider-Man.
other than the X-Men and a few of the DC guys, I really can't name many underwear perverts anyway.
I can't name that many either compared to, you know, underwear pervert fans. I can pretty much name the major guys and that's it.
If I start throwing around semi-random combinations of words, colors, and
It's almost
genders,
guaranteed you're going to name something, especially if it's like blank man, blank woman, super something.
Flash Man, Bottle Man, Fat Man.
I'm pretty sure there's a fat man.
There's got to be a Fat Man.
Captain something. Yeah.
Captain Man.
But anyway, it just shows how shallow and lame superhero comics are yet again, where the only way they can sell anything is by killing off iconic characters, and then they bring them back because without the iconic character, they have nothing to sell.
Yeah, I mean, when died at the end of... No, there wasn't a press release. No anime company was like, guess who died in episode... People just get the story, and there's no media circus anytime a major character dies or there's a plot development.
Oh well, we think it's dumb. We don't like it. This is why we don't buy those comics or read them or condone reading them.
Yeah, not to say that we don't read comics. I mean, we're finally, due to popular demand, reviewing a comic again tonight.
Because I finally got room to read one.
Also, our friend Ido reminded us when we were talking about how all comic convention on the East Coast suck. Mocha doesn't suck. In fact, it's pretty awesome.
Didn't we mention Mocha?
I think we mentioned the San Diego Comic-Con.
I don't know. I remember saying something about Mocha in a recent episode. I don't remember what or when.
Probably when we were talking about an artist or Dr. McNinja or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Whatever. Yeah. Mocha, there's the Museum of Comics with a cartoon, comics and cartoon art, which is in New York City. I think it used to be in Florida. I don't remember. But it's a pretty cool museum, and every year they have many events. One of those events is a comic festival.
Granted, there's almost no underwear perverts at it, and the people who attend and the people who, attend as guests are generally a very different crowd.
Yeah, it's pretty much all indie comics and web comics people all hanging out, having a good time, and you're just going to see awesome stuff there, and you're not going to see too many underwear perverts.
It also doesn't cost a lot of money compared to what you get.
It's also, of course, it does only take a few hours to see everything there, but you can spend a lot of time talking to people and hanging out with cool people and not being scared by nerdy people.
Also, it's in a lively part of New York City as opposed to at the Javits. So there's stuff around.
Yeah, because it's not big enough to fit into a Javits. It doesn't need to be there.
But anyway, speaking of Manhattan, last weekend Emily and I went to the Children's Film Festival in New York City, where we saw the American premiere of Tokiwo Kakeru Shoujo, aka The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It's an anime movie directed by Mamoru Hosoda, and it's very much about what the title would lead you to believe. It is about a girl who, for various reasons, acquires the ability to jump a little bit backwards in time. It was really, really cool. I very much enjoyed it. And if any of you live anywhere near New York City, I'd highly recommend that you attend the New York Children's Film Festival. But we only went to see this movie and the short before it just because it was actually difficult to get tickets to anything, and we didn't really realize we were going to go until fairly shortly before just to see this film.
Well, it's a children's film festival. Was this like a children's movie or...
Well, no, I mean, it's a children's film festival. Bring your children to it. And it has shorts aimed at various ages of children, ranging from little kids to young adults. And this is an anime that's lighthearted enough, even though it is kind of dark at times, to be shown at a festival for children. It's just a generally good movie.
How come, no one heard about this movie and I never heard of it?
You'd heard of it. Emily talked about it a lot, and then we both talked about it quite a bit when we got back from seeing it. And we talked...
Well, I heard about it when you went to see it.
And she told you about it specifically after she saw it over the summer.
I don't remember that.
All right.
But yeah, it wasn't on any anime news or anything like that. It was
Neither was Brave Story, really.
Brave Story was there a little bit on the news. It was just a tiny bit. But this one was non-existent.
Well, this is very much a better movie than that, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though how anime used to be all about anime movies. Remember in the 90s, almost every anime you saw was an anime movie.
Well, part of that was that a movie is a lot easier to promote because it's a single unified thing. You can promote it as one thing, sell it as one thing. You don't need people to buy in or continue wanting it. You only need them to buy in once, immediately. And once they've bought it, you don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But nowadays, I mean, the rate of anime movie production hasn't really declined. They make quite a few anime movies every year, at least a handful. But we're not seeing as many of them brought over. I mean, the Miyazakis always make it over.
What movies aren't we seeing coming over then?
Brave Story, this one, any other anime movie made in recent years.
And I'm sure that both of these are going to be released on DVD over here eventually.
I don't know, man. There's barely any talk about them. Meanwhile, whenever even the lowliest new anime series that's on TV, like that's on at 2 a.m. in Japan, gets a shit ton of coverage.
Movies probably also cost a lot more to license, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what. That's a good point there.
Well, too bad we can't find out because the American anime companies will not talk about anything ever.
Yeah. But I would be interested to find out, you know. I mean, we kind of know how much it costs to license an episode of an anime. I wonder how much it costs to license a movie. But
yeah, this movie is really, really good. The animation is beautiful. The characters are extremely well done. I enjoyed it very, very much. I would probably put it in my top 10 anime movie list. I got to think a little bit more on that. I'd like to see it one more time. But if you get a chance to see this, you find a torrent or it comes out on DVD, pick it up. It is so worth it.
Yeah, we should definitely keep track of what anime movies are coming out so we can spread the word because no one else seems to be doing so.
Things of the day. So yesterday, I had this kind of tutorial video about Super Dodgeball for the NES. Well, I had another thing for the thing of the day. Like I often do just before the show, I look on Dig, and I saw something so compelling that I just had to share this with the world. Now, it was a video purporting a trick to pad out research papers, or any sort of paper you're writing for a class, in college, high school, middle school, whatever.
You know, I gotta say something. I went through elementary school, middle school, high school, and 5 years of college. And I had to write many papers. I think the longest one I was ever asked to write was, I think, maybe 10 pages.
Really?
Yes. And
wow.
I never had a problem writing that many pages or more, and I never used any silly tricks to extend the length of the paper, you know, to be more pages besides, you know, writing more.
I did once. I had a 15-page paper. It was a research paper. I forget what it was, but it was something to do with propaganda and that sort of thing, like controlling the media. I forget exactly what it was, but I wrote a really good paper, except it was about a page short and there was nothing I wanted to add to the paper. So I made the margins 1/16 of an inch bigger on both sides, and that made it the requisite number of pages.
Yeah. I also don't want to start a big debate about this, but it is my opinion that requiring any particular length on papers is sort of silly, and teachers should just read your paper and determine if what you said was intelligent and complete.
Yes, I might give a guide, like, I expect this paper to be around 15 pages.
I mean, obviously, if you hand in 1 page, you probably didn't say enough. And if you
or maybe you just single-space font size forward it.
That's true. You might have done that, in which case, I can't read it. You better do something about that.
Well, first off, I probably wouldn't accept papers except in electronic format anyway.
And it would be an open format only. I wouldn't accept no Word doc files.
Well, if you wouldn't accept no Word doc files, then...
I know, right?
Yeah, you're going to be accepting and grading papers sometime in the near future. Anyway, so I saw this video, the guy purporting, like, I'm going to tell you how to pad out your papers. And I expected this to be some crap, you know, make the margins bigger.
I thought it was going to be some cool thing where... like he has a script that looks at the words in your paper and goes on Wikipedia and grabs some random sentences and tosses them in or something like that.
Yeah, but no. This guy was actually pretty clever. And he doesn't just tell you how to do it straight up. He tells you how to do it in the same kind of documentary how-to tutorial style as that dodgeball thing. And the actual technique he uses is basically to take all the, 12-point font periods you've got and up them to 14. And it'll give you quite a bit of padding without making any noticeable change to the paper.
Yeah, I mean, already, there are things... See, I said I never used any tricks to make the paper longer. That's true, because you're supposed to have such in, 1-inch margins. You're supposed to have a 12-point Times New Roman font.
Yep, double space.
You're supposed to double space it, and you're supposed to put 2 spaces after every period.
By the way, by the way, to all of you in the forums, there are only like 4 or 5 of you that do this, but put 2 spaces between your sentences, not 1.
Paragraphs, not sentences.
No, between sentences.
Oh, after the periods.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I thought, okay, never mind.
Not 2 carriage returns.
Yes, you want to put 2 returns between the paragraphs, because putting just 1 makes it hard to read on the internets.
Of course, I've always done that. In any paper I've ever written, for the most part, I never used standard indentation rules. I always use business-style block notation, or block paragraphs.
Yeah, I always normally when I'm writing, I do the block type stuff on the internets. But when I wrote papers for school, I indented the first line by like a ½ inch or so. But yeah, increasing the size of all the periods to 14 point when your font is 12 point will be not noticeable to the eye unless it's a trained typographical person.
And even then, I mean, he shows a zoom in and he goes into great detail, and there's almost no way this would be noticed.
Yeah. I had a teacher once who claimed that they were like an editor of a newspaper or a printer, and they knew all this shit, so that if you fooled around, they could tell just by looking at it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't really believe them so much. All right, my thing of the day. It's sort of an advertisement for someone that I've never spoken to, so it's basically I'm just shilling for no reason.
Uh-huh.
Some company named Digital Meme, who I've never heard of, is putting out a 4 DVD set called the Japanese Anime Classic Collection. It's coming out April 27th, supposedly. It's an all-region set with, it obviously has Japanese dialogue, but the subtitles are English, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. It's NTSC only, so if you live somewhere with PAL, you're probably not going to be able to watch it without a converter. And it's going to be like $110 or so, and you can pre-order it now. Now, what is on this DVD, you ask? Well, it basically has the oldest anime possible. The oldest anime on here is from 1928. It's called Tairiki Taro no Mucha Shugyo.
So basically it's a collection of early Japanese animation.
Yeah, the latest anime on there is from like 1950, and there are some that they don't know when they're from. And I think there are 55 anime in total. Some of them are silent movies. Some of them have like a narrator, like reading things. I guess I don't know, maybe some anime, if you went to see them in the theater in like the 30s or the 40s, there were narrators there.
I have a feeling we'll be buying this and then reviewing it.
Yeah. They also have some on there that are what are known as gramophone talkies, where in addition to sending the film to the movie theater, they would send a record to the movie theater, and they would start the film and a gramophone player separately at the same time. They've basically, what these people have done is taken those gramophone records and the film, synchronized them, and now you can watch them on a DVD with the audio.
But see, now the purists will be mad because you got to have it in the original format. You got to have the vinyl and the gramophone and the film, because otherwise it's not the authentic experience. And you won't get the full panning through the center channel.
And you have to sit there and play with you have to actually go buy a gramophone. A regular turntable won't do. Yeah, I just, it doesn't look like this is going to bring, hours upon hours of entertainment. I mean, as much as I love Steamboat Willie, it's really not that entertaining these days, even though I really, really like it.
I don't know. Steamboat Itchy is always good to watch.
Steamboat Itchy is fantastic, but Steamboat Willie, not so much. So watching these is going to be a lot more entertaining in the historical documentary type fashion than it will be in the anime watching fashion.
Yes.
But I'm probably going to get it anyway. And if you are interested in incredibly old anime, then you should probably buy this as well.
So, Scott, how many amusing or exciting anecdotes have you lived that you'd be able to relate during an evening with friends?
A lot.
You see, that is the operative question in Why Are You Doing This? By Jason, which is what we're going to review tonight. More than one of you have pointed out that we haven't reviewed too many comics lately, partly due to the fact that I read very few comics.
That's pretty much the only reason. If Rim read more comics, we'd have more comics to review than we knew what to do with.
Granted, we also realized that in all this time, we've never talked about Watchmen.
Yeah, we're going to do that as soon as whoever borrowed it gives it back.
Yeah, or maybe it's in the house somewhere. I got to do some searching because I have piles of books in various places.
I'm actually considering shelling out the huge pile of money to get the big, giant, oversized hardcover edition, the absolute one.
Does that come with anything?
It comes with, it's big, it's better printing. Better.
Does it come with anything other than just being a better version of itself?
I think it has some extras in it, maybe. I'll look it up.
All right,
But it's huge. It's like bigger than an atlas. It's atlas sized, and it's a big thick hardcover, and it's almost $100. But I can get it for like 40% off.
But Why Are You Doing This is a short comic by Jason. Now, Jason, who was born in Norway but lives now in France, like most cartoonists, wears glasses and is balding.
And that's all we know about Jason.
Yeah.
Because that's all it says in this book.
And I looked around online and I didn't find much more about him. Granted, I didn't search very much. What I did discover is that much like Cher or Prince, Jason's only name, apparently, is Jason.
Yep. He seems to be a creator of comics, most of them anthropomorphic, but not in the porn way, in the Looney Tunes okay way.
I hate the fact that when you say anthropomorphic, you have to add, and not in the porn way.
Yes, it's definitely not in the porn way. It couldn't be further from the porn way. This is less porn than Looney Tunes or Mickey Mouse.
It's almost, I wouldn't call it noir, but it gives me that feeling.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, everything's very dark and subdued, and all the characters are very expressionless and sad, and everything's kind of melancholy and dark the whole way through.
Well, I think part of it is that while it's the art is anthropomorphic. I mean, you got dog people and bird people and rabbit people.
Those seem to be the only three.
It does. See, I didn't notice any others. Do you?
Well, I didn't see any others even in the covers of other books he's done.
Yeah, but everything, and it's drawn in a very cartoonish style. I mean, he only colors with a bucket tool, it seems. But he's very good at choosing what colors he puts where, so that when it's nighttime, everything's darker, and when it's daytime, everything's bright, But he's only using the bucket tool, as far as I can tell, to do all the coloring. And yet, what happens is very real and very gritty and not unrealistic in any fashion, and it's completely believable, and it's sort of... that clash there is I think what gives it a noir feeling of ooh.
Yep, and plus, while the character designs are incredibly simple and expressionless, and yet they can convey a lot of emotion just for the way he uses them and the way they emote while they talk.
I mean, look at all these animal people. Their eyes are just white holes, and he sort of alters their size and position, to change where the people are looking, and he does a lot with the mouths and the hair and like the bodies. Like I could almost draw some of these characters that they're so simple, but the way, like the poses he has them in each panel, it's like you know exactly what's going down. He doesn't need to make it any more complex to get across the story.
And at the same time, the poses are very natural. The way the characters walk and act are much more like real people, as opposed to a lot of comics where everything's very stylized in that regard. I mean, the main character is usually slouching or sitting kind of looking down or away, or generally not standing in any sort of cool or interesting position.
Yeah. I think that goes right along with the fact that all of the words in this comic, all the writing, mostly the dialogue, is perfectly natural and real-world dialogue. It kind of throws you off because you don't see that in a comic. Like, even great non-underwear pervert comics don't have dialogue like this. It's like, whoa.
I mean, the cadences are natural. The writing is simple, and it's almost Hemingway-esque in that the way the characters interact and the things they say to each other are just so short, terse, cut and dry.
Yeah, that is similar to Hemingway. But
of course, also Hemingway is brought up during the course of this comic.
Oh, he is. Yeah, I just remembered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I said at the beginning is a direct quote that pretty much tells you what this comic is about in a very broad sense.
Yeah, well, they bring that quote up like 2 or 3 times during the story to sort of say, hey, this is what I'm trying to say, and sort of,
Except he's not...
it's the only thing he does non-subtly, I think, in the whole book.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't appear that he's trying to say anything particular.
Well,
it's more that he's brought up an issue, and he's explored the issue from about 3 or 4 different angles, but he doesn't actually conclude with the typical, and this is the way you should look at it, or here's how I feel. He just says, like, you end and you think, well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, I think he is trying to say something. It's just that the thing he's trying to say is a question and not an answer.
I don't follow you.
As in, I'm trying to say something. The thing I'm trying to say is a question mark at the end of it, as opposed to saying something like, this is the way it is, but is this the way it is?
I don't think that's any different from what I just said, where basically he raises a question and then looks at it from a few different perspectives.
This comic is really short. It's maybe, like 50 pages, you think? 40 pages? Something like that?
Well, almost, they list a bunch of his other works in the back, and they all range from 64 pages to 100 or so pages. They're not very... Oh, one of them's 48 pages.
Wow.
They're all about the same length.
I think I'm definitely going to get some of those other works after reading this one.
Yes, they're from Fantagraphics Books, Fantagraphics.com.
Yeah, all his stuff is published by Fantagraphics, who also publishes lots of other awesome things. But I forget any specifics now, but I know I have some. I just don't remember what they are right now.
Now, basically, this is the story of it starts out, there are two friends. One of them apparently has been dumped by his girlfriend or has broken up with her. They don't really go into exactly what happened, but you can kind of piece together as the comic goes on exactly why he's down in the dumps. So he's doing that typical, I'm a depressed guy, oh no, his girl trouble thing. So he's basically schlubbing it, living alone in his house, not going out.
Not going to a job, sitting around watching King Kong, sitting on the couch, being a bum.
And he's got his smart, cool friend who's basically trying to knock him out of this slump and get him to get on with his life.
That friend is very smart and very awesome.
So then the friend goes out of town for a little bit, and he's worried about him. So as a kind of a plot to get him outside doing things again, he asks him to water his plants while he's gone. So no big deal, he goes to water his plants. I can't really say what happens from that point on without spoiling it, but something momentous occurs, and the plot takes off from there.
Yeah, it's sort of hard with such a short comic to reveal any plot details whatsoever, because it's like the first plot detail is like a quarter of the way through the book, and that gives away the whole thing, and then there's no point in reading it if I tell you what happened.
Suffice to say, I highly recommend this, and I'm actually looking forward to reading pretty much everything else this guy's written. This comic, for as short as it is, tells a compelling story from start to finish, very succinctly and very well.
Yeah, I agree with one of the quotes on the back of the book that said it was Hitchcock-esque.
That is a very good way to describe it.
Yeah, if you like Alfred Hitchcock type of stuff where...
Or likes.
Yeah, where there's sort of a complex criminal element going on where you don't know who's on what side or what people want, or you're not sure which character is really doing what, but you see them do some things and you get some ideas, and maybe there's a twist at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely a thriller, though it's much more subdued than what you might expect.
Yeah, it's like while there were... some things were happening in the comic where in any other comic would be sort of fast-paced and high energy. But here, even though things were tense, it wasn't like... I didn't feel like I was rushing. It was like moving along at the same pace the whole time.
Yeah, the pace of this thing is generally very slow. You're kind of drawn from panel to panel at this steady, slow rate.
Yeah, the panels are also all the normal square panels. He didn't do a lot of, fancy manga-style, weird-shaped panels.
Everything is very
two-page
simple.
Spreads.
From the character designs to the art to the backgrounds to the panel design to the everything is just extremely simple, so the art doesn't in any way distract you from the story.
And the story is about as high quality as a comic story can be.
Now, before we end this slightly short episode, I'd like to take
incredibly
a moment to
short episode.
point out that we do have a contest running. We announced it last week, and we're going to continue it for a while. The contest is very simple. MD Geist is the second worst anime ever made. There is no arguing or disputing that. I think everyone in the world agrees. The UN has ruled, the United States Congress has passed a bill, the constitution of every country in the world that has a constitution has been amended. MD Geist is it. The question is, what is the worst anime that you have ever seen? We're not asking about what is the worst anime ever, because that is nearly as interesting as the worst anime that you have personally seen all the way through.
Yeah, because, I could go out on the internet and find out about some hentai where horrible things happen and the animation is blah.
Or I could go out and watch Earthian.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad anime I could go find out about. But it's not often, unless your name is Dave and/or Joel, that you sit around watching bad anime on purpose. So... There are very few terrible animes that I've personally seen, although there are some. So we want to hear about the worst anime you have actually seen and why. Don't just tell us what the anime is, because a lot of people are just like, oh, this anime. Now, you got to tell us all about it. Tell us why it was bad.
Yeah, give us details. If you're not sure what kind of details we want, check out Anime World Order's review of MD Geist. That is what we want to hear.
Yeah. Don't just tell us about the anime and why it was bad. Tell us the story of how you watched it and how you were feeling when you watched it.
Yes.
And what you did after you watched it. Or even if you finished watching it.
Was it your parents went to the store, knew that you liked those Japanimations, saw Wicked City and decided, hey, I'll buy this for little Jimmy? Or was it you're hanging out in college with your friend Scott, who decides to bring over some anime that turns out to be porn?
Or were you at an anime convention and there were guy was selling DVDs for $1, so you figured, what the hell, how can this be so bad? And then you spend $1 and wish you hadn't.
Or were you listening to this show when we told you not to watch something, and then you decided to watch it anyway, despite all warnings?
Gray Digital Target.
Ah. I don't think many of our listeners have bothered to watch Gray Digital Target, which is good, because you shouldn't.
You know, we've only seen it once, even though it was probably the worst anime we've ever seen.
Lenmir is right up there.
And Legend of Lemniar is bad, but I don't think it's Great Digital Target bad.
Or The Lensman, which, while I have seen The Lensman 7 or 8 times over the course of my life, I have never seen it all at the same time without falling asleep at some point during it.
And well, the books are really good, at least.
The movie's not... I don't know if the movie's that bad. I always fall asleep about 3/4 of the way through. Then I wake up at the end, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Some anime are just bad. What can you do?
Now, of course, whoever gives us the best story here will win the original soundtrack to MD Geist.
Why would someone want to enter then?
Because, as Dave and Joel pointed out, the music's actually okay.
Oh, is it really? I didn't listen to it. We just kind of ripped the MP3s off of the thing. And
it's not the best music ever, but you get the actual original CD with all the liner notes and fun stuff. Now, if someone gives us a particularly good entry to where you don't only win, but you super win, I'm going to include the Genociver OST as well, which I also have laying around.
We also ripped the MP3s off of that. I don't know how the music is on
because
that one,
CPM apparently was trying to murder me, as you might have found out when we reviewed the New York Comic Con.
Yeah, way to go, CPM.
So, I guess in conclusion for this Wednesday, I almost said Anime World Order. I don't know why.
That's it for this episode of Anime World Order.
Yep, tune in next week when we'll talk about 3 more obscure things you'll never be able to buy in a store. Make sure, if you get a chance, check out Why Are You Doing This by Jason. And if you get a chance, check out The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Excellent movie, excellent comic. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.